This boy is chewing a red centipede, the most poisonous in the world. Because, a while ago, when he just woke up, he saw a horrifying scene. His mother's face became very scary, and she kept foaming at the mouth. No matter how he called her, she did not wake up. Then, her whole body was in extreme pain. They had been poisoned. A red centipede rushed to Jax, but he had no strength to resist, and it bit his neck. The terrible pain made him scream. Saving his life was useless. Seeing his mother had been killed by the red centipede, Jax risked his life to take revenge. "You bit me, so I chewed your head," when the old man ran over. He only saw that he had fainted, but his mouth still kept chewing the red centipede. Immediately, the old man gave him a precious medicine to detoxify. Suddenly, someone appeared here. He was Mango, a member of the poison section. It was them who released the red centipedes to assassinate the White Flower Gate. The poison of the red centipede was the strongest among all centipedes. No one could survive its poison. But Jax was able to wake up right after that. His body was in agony and he writhed on the ground, making the old man happy. Then he was punched by him with a centipede scale on his leg, making him furious and hitting him with a killing blow. Fortunately, the old man used his body to block it. The poison of the red centipede had no antidote. This old dog had to cut off one of his legs to save his life. While they were not paying attention, Jax and his grandfather had disappeared some time ago. The old man used all his last strength to take him to a cave nearby. He also realized that his grandson had eaten a lot of poison from the red centipede to fight against its own poison. Then he also breathed his last and fell down. Not long after, the people of the poison sect found Jax. The old man's face became fierce, wanting him to suffer more than death, for daring to make him lose one leg when Jax woke up. He himself had been tied up like a pig on a table. He wanted to use him as an experiment with poison, making him suffer more than death. A huge black centipede was released on Jax's body. He was terrified and struggled, but was hit by this old dog and broke his leg. The old man gave him a memory pill again, made from the best ingredients. Its effect would make him unable to faint during the poison test, so that this dog could record those painful reactions. In addition, he also mixed some puffer fish poison into the pill just now, enough to kill 10 people. He only heard Jax's screams of despair in vain. A few weeks passed. Manhwa continued his experiment, starting with simple poisons, then mixing many kinds of poisons. Manhwa experimented more and recorded more reactions for Jax. This was no different from the deepest level of hell. That day, he brought a spider. Its venomous fangs were very strong. As soon as he was bitten, he felt unable to breathe, screamed, and begged him for mercy. But the old dog squeezed his neck harder. "This is what you get for making me cut off one of my legs." Soon after, his body passed out and stood on the brink of life and death. But this old dog still did not give up. He tried to save his life to continue his sick experiment. After that, he left because he had a summon from the Manhwa Guild, but when he came back, the room had become messy. Everywhere were animals. Jax also disappeared. His body had just recovered. He probably couldn't go anywhere. The old man thought he was hiding behind the wooden board, but as soon as he opened it, he was hit by a bamboo leaf. Suddenly his body shook, and his mouth kept bleeding. Mango had never seen any poison like this. Right then, he crawled out of the box full of venomous snakes, surprising the old bastard. He had been hiding in there from the beginning to trick him, and the poison that attacked him was his own blood extracted. Jax finally escaped. He was too kind. Jax decided to go to the Manhwa Guild. They were the strongest force and specialized in solving everything, ensuring justice, and good sword power. Bitch Li Dung was the leader of the Manhwa Guild. Here Jax sneaked in to meet him to report that the poison sect had attacked his White Flower Gate. He also discovered that he was the one behind pulling the strings for the poison sect to rampage. He even ordered his subordinates to kill all the people of the medicine sect to eradicate them. After knowing that, he could only survive on his own to avenge his clan. According to what he overheard, Jax went to the south gate, found out that the people of the medicine sect were being oppressed by the mine to sell their lives. He sneaked in to be able to leave with them. Jax also told them about his tragic situation. He said he could help them escape thanks to the poison from his fingers. This was the result after he was captured by Mango and ate 5,000 red centipedes. In addition, there were many other poisons that he was experimented on by him. They were also amazed by this. A guy used his inner power to check Jax's meridians. All of his meridians were blocked, like his inner meridians and his limb meridians. It seemed that there was a chi channel connecting them together, and the poison was gathered in his inner meridians. It was really abnormal. One of them objected to this, because they were afraid of death, but Jax directly said how long they could survive when they were turned into slaves in the mine. Better to die honorably than live shamefully. In the end, everyone agreed to act with him. At this time, their people announced that everyone had to return immediately. It turned out that Manhwa had woken up and was furious and searching everywhere for him, and he might be hiding in this car. Fortunately, they didn't know what Jax looked like, or it would be really bad. They immediately counted that there were 12 people in the car, one more person. The bald guy's face became evil and threatened them to hand over the person, or they would all die. A greedy coward told the truth. Jax was this kid, catch him and let us survive. Before he finished speaking, he was chopped in half by the bald head. Everyone saw that and was angry at him for being a wicked demon, a dog. Then they directly rushed to confront them, although their bodies had been injured by poison, but they held a piece of stone as a weapon in their hands. Although it only scratched them a little bit, they immediately bled and died miserably. The bald head also realized that there was a deadly poison on the stone piece. As long as he didn't fight close combat, he didn't have to be afraid. He used a sword skill and shot it out and split them in half, making everyone terrified. Jax had been behind him from some time ago, holding a stone containing poison and throwing it at him, but his attack was too weak and couldn't make him bleed. He immediately stabbed at him with a sword, saying that a brat like him dared to attack sneakily. He looked down on me too much. They would all die here. Then, many people from his sect rushed over and attacked him. But they were no match for him and were quickly killed. Only one person survived, behind Jax, who was slowly getting up. He had been counting the 10 since then. At this moment, his mouth was bleeding non-stop from the poison, but he didn't know how he was poisoned. It turned out that when he was stabbed, Jax had smeared poison on his hand and transferred it to his sword. And this dog kept licking his sword after cutting people, so he lost his strength and fell down. The deputy head of the sect rushed over and avenged his relatives who were killed by him. He begged for mercy, but Jax said goodbye to him forever. They both got on their horses and left. When Jax woke up, it was also when the old man fell off his horse. He couldn't hold on any longer. He hoped that Jax could survive and avenge the whole section. When the people of the Murim faction found out, the place was covered with corpses, but one person had escaped. They were furious and vowed to catch him. After a week of fleeing, Jax escaped from the poison section. The wound on his body also healed miraculously, perhaps because of the crazy experiments he had done before. He arrived at a nearby town and learned that the White Flower sect and other sects had been oppressed by the Poison sect and became slaves in the mine. He immediately ran to save them. After calming down, Jax realized that it was a trap. But if he didn't go there, no one could save them. As expected, the people of the Poison sect used this rumor as a bait to catch him. Manhwa also woke up after being half dead with the poison from Jax's body. One of his eyes was also blinded. He had to catch Jax and take revenge for his miserable days. At the same time, Jax also reached the mine area and saw everyone and his grandfather. They had to work in the mine there. He was even more angry and wanted to save them all. This place was also guarded by Kong very carefully. Jax caused a fire in the warehouse to be able to sneak into the mine. Everyone was shocked when he appeared there. They thought he was the only one who could escape, but Jax said he would save everyone. The old rat also realized that the fire in the warehouse was deliberately arranged by someone else. He immediately thought that it might be Jax who sneaked into the mine. He ran in to see, and it was indeed true. His face was happy like a male dog, but he thought that he couldn't let him die easily like that. He would wait until they had the best chance to escape and then crush it. He happily reported to the head teacher that he had caught Jax, but he didn't show any emotion, because those people had been arranged to be buried there. This made Manhwa very angry, but he couldn't do anything in front of the head teacher's pressure. A blast shook the mine entrance, causing rocks to fall endlessly, blocking the cave. Everyone was desperate, they could not escape from here, and the man named Geo was even more angry. He knelt down and cried. He could have killed Jax by himself, but now he couldn't anymore. Jax also realized that everything was caused by the general of the Mirren gang, so they had to kill people and silence them. Panic could not help them now, the entrance was blocked. But we still have enough strength and tools. If we work together, maybe we can get out of here. The clan leader Gong also agreed with his opinion. They could not just sit and wait for death here, although it was not easy. Digging a way out without food or light was really hard. Everyone was gradually exhausted. Jax found a small pool of water here, so everyone could regain their strength, but he tasted it and found that the water was poisonous. He could not drink it, it was really bad luck. Jax still did not give up digging the tunnel diligently, but all his efforts were not rewarded. The mine collapsed again, and many people were buried in it. They stopped when they could not erect the tunnel supports. Moreover, there was not much food and water left. Everyone sank into despair and cried, only Jax was still digging hard. The clan leader Gong decided to pass on his secret technique to him. This was also his last request. Next, the people of each sect also wanted to pass on their best secret techniques to him. This made the clan leader Gong angry. He is just a child, I'm sure you can close your eyes peacefully, once you hand over your responsibilities. But that is putting too much burden on his shoulders. However, Jax stood up and said bravely, he was not living for himself anymore, he had to avenge everyone, no matter how heavy the burden was, he would survive and get out of here. He would make them pay for what they had done to them. So Jax was instructed by everyone. He learned the martial arts of each sect very quickly. He was indeed gifted with talent. Even though he did not rest, he could still use his full strength. A few days later, the clan leader Gong reached his limit. He passed away in everyone's sorrow. Jax was also sad about this, but he did not lose heart. He had to continue practicing them. There was not much time left. It had been 2 weeks outside the mine. Old Mango only knew how to drink to drown his sick pleasure. He suddenly noticed that the wine on the ground was shaking violently and laughed loudly. He must still be alive. Inside the mine only Jax survived. He had witnessed one by one leaving and carrying their burdens on him, blood for blood revenge. After filling his stomach with grass and poisonous water, Jax spent time practicing, enduring day after day, month after month. 8 years later, Jax finally dug through the mountain and escaped from the mine. At this time, the poison sect was still rampaging and destroying other sections. They wanted to steal the secret techniques of their sections. After old Manhwa left, the poison sect was kicked out of the Mirren Alliance. He searched frantically but still could not find any trace of him that night. He woke up and found that his whole body was covered with poisonous pimples. He ran outside for help, but all his men had been poisoned and died. He quickly realized that these symptoms were caused by cinnabar ore. Then he shouted for someone to bring him an antidote immediately, but he also realized that in the smoke there were people who set fire and poisoned them. They were none other than Jax. The poison sect only had a little antidote left, and the elders quickly divided it among themselves, ignoring the life and death of others. Then they chased after the poisonous smoke in the forest. Jax coldly stepped out of the shadows, and after knowing that he was alone, the old man laughed mockingly. This kid is too delusional, he thinks he can take on the whole map by himself. They immediately grabbed their guns and shot at him, but they couldn't hit him. On the contrary, they were easily killed by him, one by one in the blink of an eye. Even if they ganged up on him, they couldn't harm Jax. The sect leader, who was watching from one side, realized that his movements were very stiff and amateurish. He clearly had no combat experience, but why was such a rookie so confident? It was because he had the strongest poison. The poison hit one of them, and he immediately screamed miserably. The old man finally had to make a move. But he couldn't hit him either. He fell face down and laughed hysterically. The old man only realized then that his body was paralyzed. The poison from Chusa would gradually paralyze your senses and make them lose their functions. Did you think the poison was cured? When they came here, Jax had burned green tea leaves, which was forbidden when detoxifying. If the antidote was mixed with green tea, it would be paralyzed, and from just now until now, he was just stalling for time, waiting for their poison to take effect. These idiots even thought he was fresh grain. How delusional. He had been thinking about this for 8 years. Of course his plan couldn't go wrong. The old man begged for mercy at this point, saying he would help him get revenge. But it was useless, because his body was immune to all kinds of poisons, and there was no antidote for them before he died. Jax also revealed his identity, someone who could survive in a mine without food or water for 8 years straight. That was impossible. After killing all the people of the poison sect, Jax used the books to track down the people behind the massacre of his section. Their sect was the alliance of the 3 strongest poison sects, and the boss was definitely the general of the Mirren gang. At the martial arts city Howon Alliance, General Luke Longsword sect Lee Young Big Summon Mario. He had received an interesting piece of information from a Nam. His sect had been wiped out in one night, and even the alliance couldn't find any clues. The old man laughed gleefully as he recognized that the culprit was Jax, but the general didn't believe it. A kid who could survive in a collapsed mine for 8 years was impossible. He would become hungry and thirsty and he would slaughter everything. Maybe he was looking for his next prey, which would make him grow stronger gradually. The other poison sects would soon be like the poison sect too. The general ordered him to investigate this matter, and he was very interested to see the result that he had created years ago. Hatred is one of the strongest motivations, and more than that, if someone had struggled in such a hellish place for almost a decade, the poison sects wouldn't be anything to him. When Mango arrived at the poison clan, he was burned to ashes. Suddenly, a short sword flew towards him and made him lose half of his life. The person who came was from the 3 strongest poison sects in Annam. They were also curious. A person who had stolen countless poison secrets from their sects and ran to the alliance, now came back with a face. Although they wanted to kill him, they couldn't do anything with his identity as an investigator of the alliance. Mangio quickly understood everything. There was a medical method, which was to burn a small amount of Chusa. By controlling the dose of Chusa, it could cure boils. It was called the inspection contract. However, if the dose of Chusa was too high, it would become a deadly poison. The culprit had used this method. There was also green tea here. It meant that the enemy had prepared a way to suppress the poison that the poison clan could not resist. It was also natural. He trembled with joy, because the murderer was definitely his Jax. The next target was the other poison sections. The poison smoke bags were suddenly thrown at the people of the Iron Destruction section. They immediately felt unable to breathe. A figure appeared in the smoke. It was Jax, the Avenger. He could easily move in the dark and spread poison smoke with his body immune to all kinds of poisons. Jax then pushed him back. His dark energy could not hurt him either. He was caught by Jax's two-finger skill and then returned a disciple to him. He was covered with a sheet. His body suddenly became paralyzed and could not move, because he had touched his poisonous hand before. His dark energy stabbed into his shoulder. He fell to the ground with a paralyzed body. He didn't care about himself, but was defeated by a kid. He used a poison needle to punch his leg. But it had no effect on Jax. Surprised yet? What are you playing with, old man? Then he also died, because of his own poison. The two remaining poison sects heard that the Iron Destruction sect had been attacked. They had to be scared and vigilant. Mango then went to the place of the Poison Master section. He told them to die. On Jax's side, the people of Lin Min martial arts had found him. But they were easily killed, because they dared to fly into the poison smoke. He took the living people as shields. Then he attacked from a blind spot. He could also dodge our weapons very well. I heard he killed Nam Di. So I thought he was a master. But I guess I was wrong. The leader risked his life and rushed into the smoke, thinking he could hit him, but it was just the corpse of the elder. He was hit by Jax's umbrella and flew away. But this guy was not easy to deal with either. At the same time, Mango showed his strength. He hid from the people of the Poison Master sect and killed them immediately, making their elder stunned too. He didn't think he hid himself so well. His purpose was to make Jax less burdened. Only then could he grow up smoothly according to his wish. The elder of the Poison Master sect used all his strength to resist, but he was not Mango's opponent and was killed by him quickly. Meanwhile, Jax was still fighting with the assassin of the Alliance. Then he really fought back. His speed increased dizzyingly, making him shocked and realized that he had been hiding his strength. Jax's speed was not faster, but he slowed down instead because of the wound from his umbrella on his face before that poisoned him quickly into his body. Then he realized that he was dangerous and had to use all his strength to solve it quickly, but the poison in his body was stronger than that. He thought he had been stabbed by him, but he still managed to survive. Everything here had ended suddenly. He felt a terrifying killing intent from afar. It was from Mario. He wanted him to rest, because he had a long way to go. If he pushed himself too hard, he would harm himself. He wanted to witness his growth. After finishing the job, he aimed at the three strongest sects in Annam. It would be very difficult. He decided to help him with one hand. Mango had arrived at the Poison sect. He met the sect leader Chi. When he saw him, he was very angry. He was the traitor of the Poison Alliance. According to the Martial Alliance, he released a terrible poison that enveloped this place. However, it had no effect on Mario. It seemed that the sect leader Chi still thought he was the leader of the section. The three lower sects were oppressed by him. His power burst out and dispersed the poison smoke. This made the sect leader Chi Zhang even more furious. It seemed that he had become much stronger. However, Mang Jiao did not come here to start a war. He was the one who reported the death of the Elder Zhou. He also showed his identity as an investigator of the Martial Alliance. Mango blamed everything on the one who destroyed the Poison sect. He might target all the sects under the Poison family. He did not see him clearly, but after following him, he thought he could guess where he was going. He was on his way to the headquarters of the Iron Sand sect. As long as he entered the Skynet formation, he could catch him for sure. However, this would require a huge force. If they mobilized such a force just to catch a murderer, the outsiders would judge them harshly. He was also scolded by the old sect leader, because this was not a place where the Martial Alliance could act recklessly. This was all part of Mango's plan before leaving. He did not forget to say that the culprit might be one of those lame poisoners. He would be misled to Iron Sand. However, Jax would surely choose to attack the dark sect. In this way, the sect leader of the poison family ordered all the sect elders to select 20 of their best warriors to hunt down the perpetrator who was heading to Iron Sand sect. They would have to pay attention to their surroundings, especially to those lame ones. Meanwhile, Jax had reached the base of the dark sect. From the outside, they looked like ordinary farmers. But their movements did not leave any unnecessary actions. There were about 30 people here. If he rushed out, it would be no different from hitting a dead end. He had to think carefully. When harvesting rice, farmers would use glutinous rice to make cakes for everyone. He could only poison them through cakes. He had used up almost all of his mercury poison in his body in the previous fight. He also used up most of his poison from the poison sect after that time. So he had to find a way to stock up more. Jax found a lot of oxalis here. Their sprouts could expel toxins from his body through excretion. But if he overdosed, he would get diarrhea and hallucinations, and even die if he took too much. If he could store a large amount of poison, 30 people would not be a problem. Jax ate them directly, and a few days later, a farmer who planted glutinous rice by the stream was killed by him when he learned about the dark sect. He immediately warned everyone to go up the mountain and chase him down. The sect leader also had to ask questions. Wasn't it intelligence that said that the assassin would attack Iron Sand? Why did he neglect it, thinking it was just a misunderstanding? Very quickly, they found Jax when he was trying to poison the well here. They surrounded him, leaving no way out. Someone asked, "Why did we find you, right? Your plan of attacking from the east while distracting from the west was not bad at all. Before you die, I want to ask you one question. Are you also the one who killed the leaders of the poison sect and the villagers nearby?" Jax had no idea about those villagers. It was Mango who did all that. Jax immediately released his dark energy, but he was blocked by him. Then he used his terrifying power to knock him away, very quickly. Jax was caught by him, he was hit by a pressure point and could not move. Then he was locked in a prison, and decided to take him to the poison sect for interrogation tomorrow. After doing this, they all ate and drank happily. One of them brought a rice cake to Jax's face. They had a tradition of making rice cakes in the first harvest season of the year. The leader ordered to give Jax one, as his sworn brother. He had been killed by him. He ate it to avenge his sworn brother. However, Jax could move, which surprised him. Those pressure point tricks don't work on people who haven't opened their points, like me. It's time. Suddenly he was in great pain, because he was poisoned non-stop. Screaming. Everyone who ate the rice cake died. Even the leader of the dark sect was the same. It turned out that from the beginning, he pretended to be caught so that they would lose their guard. Then he ate the rice cake, which he had poisoned beforehand, without suspicion. Even poisoning the water source was just a diversion. He secretly added a wheat rack there to poison them. Jax revealed his identity, in the medical sects that they had killed before he left. He didn't kill him but burned the whole house down. His body couldn't move because of the poison, he could only beg. But it was begging for goodbye. He tried to get out, using all his last strength to attack him, but couldn't hit. He also had to admire, even though he was poisoned by the glory seed, he was still so strong. No wonder he was the leader of the dark section. He rushed to attack him, even though he himself was poisoned by dark energy. With a loud bang, he ended up killing his own disciple. Jax finished him off from behind. This was his price to pay. When the villagers nearby discovered it, the fire couldn't be put out. All the people of the dark sect were wiped out in one night. At this time, Jax was collecting more poisons for the next battles. Snake god poison. If someone drinks this, their body will immediately be paralyzed, their heart will stop beating and they will die. It is one of the deadly poisons, even experts have no antidote. And it is also a prerequisite poison to create poison sections. Today, he voluntarily drank a bottle himself. A terrible pain came, pain running from his stomach to his heart and spreading to his cells. It will be his secret weapon. When Jax woke up outside, there were countless corpses of civilians. This was exactly like what the leader had said before. Jax heard the screams of the villagers nearby. When he got there, everyone had been slaughtered, corpses piled up. He didn't feel any presence at all. But the bodies were still very warm. The killer had just passed by. Moreover, he must be a master. He didn't understand why he wanted to blame everything on him. If he knew who that bastard was who did this, he would have to die without doubt. At the same time, at Kukak Luang Mon, the old and sick Mango was washing the blood off his body. The head of the sect saw this scene and was horrified. He said he had encountered the killer who had slaughtered the Dakmon clan that he came to find, and also had ambitions to make his disciple his own. Kukak Luang Mon cleaned up the mess left by the Dakmon who were exterminated, by capturing Jax, the eldest son of the head of the section. He left his pregnant wife behind, and they didn't know the evil intentions of the old man. Whether he was targeting their relatives or not, they soon met him. He introduced himself as Sa-jin, the deputy head of Kuluang. He said he was here to investigate an incident that happened. It seemed like a killer was nearby. He asked if they could show their identity cards. Jax naturally refused, because he didn't have any. Then he ordered his men to call Mango over to confirm. However, Jax didn't have time for that. He left directly. One of them tried to attack him, but when they saw the killing intent he emitted, they both stopped. They immediately confirmed that he was the killer. They attacked Jax, but he quickly threw out his poison gas bags. In a blink of an eye, they were all knocked down. Even if the deputy head rushed over, he couldn't do anything. Jax hit him hard on the ground with his hand. They didn't know that they had been hit by his poison bomb, which was a mixture of Tang Hoa cock poison, a very powerful poison that made anyone who breathed it feel extremely painful. But they wouldn't die, they just had to control their breath and expel the poison from their bodies. "And don't follow me anymore," he said. "You guys are lucky that I spared your lives, but don't push your luck. Even though you didn't touch our rice bowl, we will still execute justice. The martial arts alliance of yours doesn't even have any justice. You should look at your own organization before questioning others." That afternoon, Mango came over. He personally made his nephew swallow poison pills, and then shouted that the killer had done it in his nephew's struggle. He left like that, leaving behind his father and his pregnant wife. When they saw his corpse, they were all silent with pain. Even those who were there were killed by him. The head of the Kuluang sect cried in pain over the death of his son, blaming everything on Mango for deceiving him. But their acting was too good. Tears and snot kept flowing out. The old man even said that he regarded Sa-jin as his son. At the same time, the news of the destruction of the black sect was transmitted to the poison sect. The old man was very angry because he was buried by Mango in a painful trap. Even if the culprit mobilized all his forces, the black sect's Lusong must have been there. Lusong was not someone who could be easily defeated. But he still died. He should have listened to Mango's suggestion to capture them later. He immediately ordered all the sects under his sect in an am. Another emergency meeting was held by the order of the sect leader. Thiat Tan and Kong were present. They went to a nearby town to rest. He was careful to check the food before eating, for fear of being poisoned. Jax was also here. He ate several bowls, but did not pay, so he had to stay here to serve and pay off his debt. The leader of Thiat Tan suspected his identity. He released a terrifying killing intent, threatening Jax. But he did not move at all. After confirming that he had no martial arts, he left. The next morning, they had breakfast before leaving. Before eating, the sect leader still carefully tested for poison, then ate. He did not know that the eyes of death were staring at him. This would also be the last meal of all of them. Very quickly, a disciple of Thiatan's sect had a stomach ache. At first, he thought he was chased by Chow Chow because he ate too fast. But then he kept vomiting blood. Everyone was poisoned, except for the one who faced him. It was Jack's. It turned out that he had poisoned their utensils. The poison I used was Tramtich poison, a poison from the Black Sect. It takes effect after a period of time, it melts the intestines and causes bleeding to death. He had not finished speaking when he was attacked by the old man from afar. The attack was like a bullet, each one with extremely terrifying damage. But it was just like a fish struggling on a pan. Very quickly, the poison in his body relapsed. He was killed by him with a sword before leaving. He also told him that the destruction of the medical sect was inevitable. There is no smoke without fire. Everything has its cause. You will soon turn yourself into a monster out of control and anger. He furiously questioned him, but he was dead. The words just now could not shake his intention of revenge. Anger, hatred were the motivation that helped him survive and move forward. Meanwhile, the wife of Kuluang's deputy sect leader miscarried due to shock. At this time, their sect leader was like crazy. He lost his son, then his grandson, and then his brother's betrayal. One side mocked him. Everything was because of the poison sect's fault. If they had listened to him and used the heaven net earth trap, they could have caught the culprit early. His son would not have died either. The poor younger brother did not know how sinister his brother was. He was the one who caused all this tragedy. At the same time, the leader of the poison sect was carefully considering. Among the 4 big poison sects under the southern region leader, only the poison sect remained. The biggest threat to him now was a very small disturbance, because of his mistake. The one who did not act wisely enough. But the leader of Kuluang's sect incited the smaller sects to rebel, even though his son's death had nothing to do with them. They kept talking about justice, but in fact they were just disgusting bastards, looking for benefits when the poison sects were weak. No matter how much you struggle, the poison sect will not collapse easily. He used the money from the Martial Alliance to revive the poison sect in South Vietnam, and became the king of Annam. But at this time, Jax had infiltrated here, under the disguise of a laborer. They had to finish the work quickly before the rainy season. It would rain continuously here for 7 months. That night, some workers invited him to drink. At first, he was reluctant, but then he shouted at the old men. He drank 10 bottles of this wine and was not drunk. In the end, everyone was drunk and Jax was not even tipsy. He took him home. They were very kind to invite Jax to stay instead of sleeping on the street. His wife also prepared a bath and clothes. This was the first time in 8 years that he felt like this. People were always so good, right? The next day, when he wore new clothes, Jax looked like a Korean oppa. He was just normal, but he was a bit mischievous. They also had breakfast together. He had a son, but 5 years ago, he died of illness. Since then, the house had become unusually quiet. He and his wife did not talk much. They could not make things go back to the way they were, but it had been a long time since he saw her cook breakfast enthusiastically like today. It was as if their son had really come back. He also agreed to let him stay here as long as he wanted. This reminded him of the happy days with his parents, but now they were gone. He could not live a peaceful life anymore. Then, when he closed his eyes, he thought of the 100 Flowers Valley of his section. And when he shut them tight, he heard their reproaches. Even if he covered his nose tightly, he still smelled the dead bodies and blood on his hands. He could never wash them clean. Every day, he soaked his blood on the tiles when he repaired the house. A few days later, the meeting of the poison sects in Annam was held. Many sects large and small gathered here. Our poison block was facing the biggest challenge since its establishment on the land of Kong host 3 sects. In our block, we were wiped out by a mysterious existence, and the external forces were eager to profit from this situation. They wanted to take over our influence in this area. Although South Vietnam was not affected much by them, because of the significant distance from the Rang Ion area, if the situation continued, our poison bloc would not have enough ability to resist their influence anymore. Therefore, we had to tighten our allies in our poison bloc and prepare carefully to be ready to face any imminent danger. We were here to discuss how to distribute the assets when both major poison sects were destroyed. An old man from the San sect stood up on behalf of everyone. There were rumors that the culprit responsible for the extinction of the poison sects was none other than poison sect's family section. So we should prioritize investigating them first. They brought 3 corpses collected from the destroyed poison sects, including Yuck, the elder of poison sect's family section. So all rumors that their sect was irresponsible in this matter were completely wrong. This was arranged by him to dispel all previous rumors. The reward for San's sect would be a share of business with Black Dark sect. They also could not use the power of martial alliance to hunt him down, because that would be like bringing wolves home. The peaceful situation at Poison Sect's family sect made Old Dog Mango puzzled too. Then he licked a tile piece like a madman. Then he laughed crazily. It was Lin Xe's poison, so he must have soaked it from Black Dark Sect's poison into the tiles. As soon as it rained heavily, everything here would turn into hell. However, if it did not rain, everything he had prepared would be wasted for a more dramatic plot. The old woman had told the leader of the poison section. She said the killer was here. This made them all more alert. The leader had ordered, everyone had to gather in the hall of the conference. He wanted to congratulate them with wine for what they had done. This was very unusual, making everyone scared, but it was not poisonous at all. On the contrary, it was very delicious. He also realized that to drink that cup of wine, he had to go to where Chi-Rong was standing. By making everyone walk about 20 steps, they could distinguish who was lame or not. This was actually a trap. No matter how hard he tried to pretend, he could not escape the eyes of them. He went straight up to the old man and revealed his true identity. He also said why he came here. Of course, it was to make you guys eat bananas. The old man laughed loudly. You are really good at acting. The disciples rushed up and were stabbed by you. The old man yesterday also rushed up to deal with him. He used his 9-palm skill to hit a ball made of acid. It aimed at him, but Jax quickly used the enemy's body to block it. Then he rushed up to attack him again. But his whole body was pushed away. However, the old man's hand was also stabbed with poison. The toxin was spreading under the attack of the crowd. He was quickly subdued. This made the leader feel very strange. A weak person like him could not do those things. He shouted angrily, "Who is behind you?" He crazily released his poison fragrance skill. But he could not make Jax open his mouth. Outside, a group of people in full gear had gathered. They were the rebels, led by the leader of the Kuliang section. They came here to demand justice for Yunam. He had hired skilled assassins to destroy the 3 poison sects and create an excuse to gather the poison sects in Yunam. Here, he killed my son. This can be investigated if you hand over that lame guy. The leader naturally would not hand him over. He still laughed loudly. No matter what he did, he would not open his mouth. I am also curious about his true identity. He blamed it on the people of his own sect who had always used Jax to rush here. The righteous sections. The fools who tried to confront the Poison Valley sections. After today, you will no longer exist. I will show you the true power of the Poison Valley sections. The sect that rules Yunam. Starting from him, the people of the righteous sects could not let him destroy the evidence. Jax thought he would die here. While waiting for death, suddenly it rained heavily. At this moment, he used his poison to blind one eye of the old man. He only heard a scream of pain. It turned out that from the beginning, he had always hidden poison in his mouth. That's why he didn't open his mouth earlier. The righteous sects also took advantage of this and rushed up, making the scene chaotic. Jax shouted loudly, "I am Jax of the Manhwa family, a medical sect. I came here to avenge the medical sects that you slaughtered." His scream carried the rage and hatred of many years, making everyone tremble. Who could survive this place, while Mango was enjoying the big drama that he created? Jax had a terrifying killing intent, threatening the people of his own section. Do not advance, or do not ask when your death anniversary is next year. However, they would not listen, because this was the opportunity to defeat the alliance of poison sects. Greed would make them pay. The people of the poison sect all aimed at him and attacked. At that time, Jax was like a death god, striking one blow and killing one person. At this point, they did not need any honor anymore. They rushed up crazily and ganged up on him. The sect leader Qi realized that something was wrong. Even when facing death, he was not afraid at all. He was plotting something. At this moment, the rainwater also flooded into this place. The old man then realized everything. He shouted for everyone to run away, but it was too late. All of them had been poisoned by the deadly snake venom that acted very quickly. Many of them had to die. Qi also realized that this was a big trap set up by him in advance. His right hand was also covered with poisonous pimples, itching and unbearable. He could not stop scratching until he became deformed. This was the effect of the white fruit peel. At that time, only the sect leader Qi survived. He had to say that he admired him. He had completely blown up the 4 largest poison sects and the poison block of the southern region. Even if he witnessed it with his own eyes, he still found it hard to believe. But as long as he lived, the poison sect would last forever. He moved as fast as lightning. He rushed up and attacked him. He used the great poison technique, countless small poison fragments. He attacked Jax. This was the heart-destroying poison, a kind of poison that killed people by destroying their internal organs. Then there were countless kinds of poisons attacking him. Jax's body could not bear it and fell down. He fainted like that. When he was about to kill him, Manhwa appeared. Bang, a loud noise, knocking the old man away. He slowly walked over and revealed the truth himself. He was the person behind all the mess here. The reason was very simple, to take revenge. Jax had nothing to do with them. He was a monster that he created. His life was full of anger and hatred. He lived until now, entirely because of his revenge purpose. But you crossed his path, not once, but twice. How could he not hate you? The old man did not know if he had any toys or not, but he always hallucinated and confused his language. Along with Mango, there was another person in black clothes who was mysterious. Qi immediately asked her to identify herself, definitely not from the Yunnan region. She also released a terrifying power, suppressing the poison of the old man. She was clearly from Xiamchuan region. Then he accused Mango of being a traitor to his homeland. His brother ran over and questioned everything at that time. The old man also did not hide anymore, saying that he himself was the one who killed his son. This made him unable to believe his ears and eyes, crying in pain and agony. It turned out that everything was because of his brother. He wanted to rush up and take revenge immediately but was killed. All the people of his own sect rushed up and ganged up on him, but they were not opponents of those two at all. After that, he went to Jax's face. I really want to drink with you and talk about everything that happened in the past 8 years, but I am also sad that it is impossible to continue. He stabbed a big needle into his head. Your revenge is not over yet, and to complete it you have to get stronger. He opened up his 12 meridians for Jax, only to see him screaming in pain. Right now, your meridians are blocked by the Western fire poison and the 5-color death poison. And with the auxiliary meridians that I have opened for you in the past, you can only store a small amount of internal energy. What I am doing is opening your brain meridians and forcibly pushing energy into them to unblock the blocked meridians. The meridians that have been blocked for 8 years are so hard that even with my strength, I can only open half of them. This is the gift I give you. Become strong, climb to the peak of martial arts, and then I will be the one who pushes you down the abyss. So don't die until then. That day, the day when the heavy rain poured down, only Jax survived. The death of Wai Dong, the first master of Yunnan region, and many other masters of the poison sect, along with martial arts from many orthodox sects, caused a commotion at the lake. Jax became very famous. Mango returned to the name list of the Miram Guild, but was not punished for the disaster in Annam. On the contrary, he was commended. However, the general also began to suspect that he was involved in this matter. A few days later, Jax woke up. He found himself in a strange place, and his wounds had been carefully bandaged. It turned out to be Uncle John. He had slept for 4 days straight, and he thought he was dead. Fortunately, he woke up when he went to the Poison Sect conference. A horrifying scene, corpses lying everywhere, only Jax was still breathing faintly, so he took him back here. He was confused about what had happened, why he could still survive, and whose mysterious voice was that. Uncle John was very kind, taking care of him like his own son. But Jax soon realized that he had been poisoned by American leprosy. The poison is a symptom of a type of poison from dead horses or their waste. It will cause terrible necrotic infections and eventually invade the internal organs of the poisoned person and kill them. He must have brought him back to a state of countless toxins in his body, so he was poisoned. Jax vowed to himself that he would save him no matter what, and would not let the pain from his past mistakes reappear. He was different now from the powerless person in the past. He had burned everything in his house that might have been contaminated by his poison. The only thing he needed now was a method to decode the poison, but the most important thing he needed to find was Kim medicine. He could not cure the poison without it. He needed to find high-quality pills from a reputable pharmacy. But when he got there, he felt a murderous aura. It seemed that they were people from the Martial Alliance who came to investigate this matter. Jax suddenly felt pain as if something was moving in his body. His internal energy kept running wildly and uncontrollably. The people saw him wandering around and began to suspect, wanting to go with them for a ride. But Jax couldn't move. In the most dangerous moment, a girl suddenly blocked their sword. She also wanted to find him. Then she easily dealt with 2 guards with 1 move. He also recognized her as a master, and could only follow her if he didn't want to die. They talked to each other. He also said that he was not the one who caused the poison sect disaster. At least at that time he had been knocked out. The martial world gave him the name Poisonous Dragon. She came from the Black Sect. They would be affected by that disaster. There were 2 solutions. We could accept the killer to turn rumors into reality or ensure not to be blamed for any more incidents. She also told him a story. Once upon a time, there was a man who was famous throughout Kong-ho for his heroic spirit and for helping others. Many people admired him, and no one doubted that he was a good person. Even a young girl, who was naive and knew little about the world, accepted his love and did not suspect anything about his intentions. He would make her happy, she thought. However, he did not love her at all. He only wanted the secret technique that her family possessed. After he got it, he not only abandoned her, but also told others that her family was part of the devil sect, causing them to be massacred. And yet, that man was still regarded as an upright person because he could give up his son for his knightly spirit. He just said to kill him and be done with it. He did not know that the girl in front of him was the heroine of that tragic story. Her name was Ran Ryung Kyung. In Kong-ho, they called her the servant of justice and righteousness. He had heard of that name before. In a dark sect of the eastern region, there was a lord who had unbeatable power, a great female general and the leader of the small dark sects. She said she would teach him martial arts and provide him with the necessary resources to gain strength. He could take revenge, and she could get what she wanted. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. But he refused her offer. This meant confronting her. He used the poison around his body, used his poisonous needles to attack, but they were easily blocked. Then, she slammed him hard to the ground. Jax tried to use a poison knife to sneak attack, but everything seemed useless. Before the knife could touch her throat, his head exploded like fireworks. However, he was very calm. Because there were many people who were attracted here. With her identity and fame, she surely could not act rashly. But as soon as she said a word, they all left quickly. Was it an illusion? Could it be that even if he cooperated with the dark sects, only to be used as a trap, he would not lose anything? We could eliminate the common enemy together, and he would gain more power. Then, she gave him death gold medicine to save Uncle John. So in the end, Jax agreed to cooperate. Next, she taught him one sun finger. The way to use it was quite simple. He could remember it easily. The last thing she wanted to say was information. It seemed that others had sneaked into Uncle John's house. He was in danger now. A famous figure in Manhwa and also one of the 3 extraordinary dragon sons, Great Ostrich John. He had to prepare himself first. They were much stronger than the dark sects he had encountered before. She did this only to get a favor back later. He would have to spare the life of one person at her request. When he returned home, Uncle John had been taken away. There was a note on the table with the location of the hostage. He quickly got there. They wanted to use old John to threaten him. Jax had to tell the truth. He was the descendant of White Flower of Sorrow Heart sect, and he said he only wanted revenge on the 4 great poison sects, the ones who caused the destruction of the medical sects. However, they did not believe him. They even forced him to go back to the Martial Alliance to tell everything. This was no different from seeking death when their leader was behind protecting the poison sect in Annam. Hanhon Jax immediately released a terrifying murderous aura that enveloped everything. This was the ability to sense chi. Murderous aura could reveal the killing intent of a person. It could be perceived by the wild chi realm. Even ordinary people who did not use internal cultivation techniques could also emit this kind of murderous aura when they were possessed by extreme anger. The ability to sense chi was the most frightening of all. They felt a chill in their bodies. How had he lived his life that he could emit so much murderous aura? Jax defeated several leeches with one move, making them panic. John had to take action at this time. She used her sword as a string and continuously attacked him. It moved very mysteriously. For someone with little combat experience like Jax, his whole body was covered with wounds. The attack range was wide, and the speed was very fast, making it hard to dodge. Even his dark chi that he shot out was blocked by her and hit by a painful blow. It was not that he was too weak, but that the opponent was too strong. She possessed the flying sword skill, a sword skill that allowed the user to move freely within the blades. And she had earned the extraordinary title of Great Master after mastering the 7 paths of that sword skill. Jax had to flee. But how could he run? She directly chopped down 10 ancient trees, leaving him no place to hide. She also began to mock the gap in strength between them. How could someone who was called a sword skill genius be defeated by someone like him? Speaking of martial skills, he also knew one move. Jax remembered the one-finger skill that he had just learned. He concentrated his chi on his toes, then transferred it to his heels and through his knees, passed through his heart and reached his fingertips. He felt a change in his body. The meridians that had been locked for years. When he opened them, the streams of poison began to flow through his veins, completely tearing apart his body. The freezing skill that Ranryung Kyung had passed on to him was a sealing skill. It was created by manipulating the qi movement in the internal body. And the streams of poison that had been sealed in his body for so long flowed evenly with his internal power and began to concentrate on one point on his body. In other words, this was an upgraded version of the one-finger skill. A loud noise. Luckily the guard had quickly used his body to block it, otherwise she would have died. Without a doubt, he realized that the one-finger skill carried a deadly poison, and he kept spitting blood from his mouth, while advising his young lady to use an antidote before fighting. After taking the medicine, she was very confident that his poison could not harm her. She did not know that it was actually a poison created by Lao Mangio, disguised as an antidote. She kept spitting blood, not understanding what was happening, and fainted immediately. It was a symptom of death poison. How? In just one moment, he had used another poison. The guard who had screamed loudly before, but now he was begging him to spare his life, at least spare his young lady's life. But how could he spare those who wanted to kill him? As Jax was about to act, he was stopped by Lao Zhang. He had given him an antidote in time. He decided to leave, not wanting him to be in danger because of him. Fine then, he also kindly brought some antidote for them. He just did not want to be misunderstood. The villagers and the righteous factions were not killed by him, someone had taken advantage of it and blamed all those crimes on him. Quickly that I am not the one who poisoned her. It was the antidote pills that she used before. They got them from the Alliance. This is also what you can do for them. Then Jax left. That night, the assassin of the Alliance came to kill them. Luckily, the guards stopped him in time. But his body was too weak from the poison. He was quickly defeated by the assassin. But even in death, he tried his best to protect the young lady. At that moment, Jax appeared behind him from nowhere. He immediately dropped his weapon and surrendered. But he also did not know any information about the client this time. He only knew that his mission was to assassinate the heir of the Raigo gang. He would die anyway if he failed the mission. So he had to risk his life to kill John. The hidden weapon was launched very fast. She had to die. This made the guard very painful and screamed. I have protected the young lady since she was 4 years old as a servant of the Raigo gang. I see it as my duty. I gradually became more familiar with others than myself. Having someone to protect, people see it more precious than their own lives. He decided to leave and not reveal the cause of the young lady's assassination. All the sins would be blamed on him so that he could find out the purpose of those who did this. Jax also agreed with him. You can handle it. Don't worry. Before leaving, he also reminded Jax. Be careful, stay alive. The one behind everything was the leader of the Alliance. He cruelly attacked his disciple's lover. He did this to provoke the Raigo gang to attack Jax with full force. The trap was set. Making old Mangio so angry, how could my Jax survive? Lipid also knew that Munzio had intervened in Yunnan by contacting Sichuan. And the reason for killing John young lady was to make his disciple marry the disciple of the Sword Queen Ice Ostrich. Old Munzio's throat was very bitter. I didn't expect you to be so ruthless and destroy what I have nurtured for so long. Exactly like that. Leader Li is even more despicable than me. Although he was very angry, he could not kill Munzio because he still had many uses for him. What Lipid wanted was to become the ruler of this world. Then he would give the old man a city. But old Munzio had no interest in it. What he wanted was Jax. At this time, Jax realized the change inside his body. Since he used Tua Feng Qian in the battle with John young lady, something had changed in his body. He did not feel too painful or counterproductive when trying to manipulate his energy anymore. He could use the energy accumulated in 60 years not only as a flow of energy connected to Sobek's flow. He could also use all sources of energy in each part of his body. This meant that he could use the secret techniques of his sect that were taught before. He decided to go to Hawang by passing through Sichuan. Suddenly, someone appeared here, emitting a terrifying energy that made him unable to move. He threw out Raigo's death sentence for him. Be ready when you go to hell, so that your despair will increase manifold. Jax was not afraid, of course. He was afraid of many things, but not death. Bang Raigo acted faster than expected. This battle would be different from the previous ones. Instead of setting traps beforehand, he had to deal with the enemy's tactics. He was like a mouse in a cage. But Bang Raigo did not pursue him immediately, but let him go to Nanjian village. There must be a reason. He had to take advantage of the time to prepare everything to fight them. Thanks to the opening of his meridians, Jax could use the secret techniques of the medical sections. And Bang Raigo did not just set up a big trap just to catch a small fish. They were aiming at Black Sword, the one behind Jax's help. She could easily see that. They were too naive to play mind games with her. At the same time, Lipid's disciple also received a letter that Jax was in Nanjian village. He would not miss this opportunity to avenge his lover. That day, Jax was walking on the street when he was suddenly called to see a fortune teller. The fortune teller was very different from the people who always followed him, so he agreed to draw a card. How could he know that the old man had information about Bang Raigo's plan to use the heavenly net to capture him? They immediately went to a small alley. The two followers were quickly dealt with by him. He also revealed his identity as a person of Ran Ryum Kyung. Because everyone in the martial world thought he came from a small evil sect, they saved him. We don't care if you are or not, people will see you as part of a small evil sect anyway. And our Lord thinks that instead of waiting for Ichigo Bang to act, it would be better to save you and find out the enemy's intention. So we plan to help you escape while misleading Bang Ichigo. They had to leave right away. Soon, a massacre would sweep through this southern village. They surely wanted to blame him for causing trouble and use it as an excuse to attack the small sects. Under the pressure of the martial alliance, Bang Raigo finally had to act and decided to destroy this village along with Wong, the murderer. There was a time when people always followed the spirit of martial arts and justice. They always stayed in Kangho and sacrificed themselves to fight against evil. But a few decades ago, after Vo Min was established and someone was honored as Min Chu, everything changed. The current martial world leader, or Gold Jinan, chose to manipulate the ideals and energy of the sects that always maintained them to unify the martial world. Instead of eliminating different thoughts and ideals, he seemed to talk about something bigger, but in fact he made the new world soaked with the idea of losing justice, and justice became something people could easily sacrifice for greater benefits. The so-called righteous warriors and big sects became distorted and began to follow that idea. Jax's final decision was that he would not leave to fight them. This time, he would not run away and leave the people involved. This made the old man exclaim, "You are crazy, kid. You want to fight against an army by yourself without hacking? That's no different from suicide." Unable to persuade him, the old man had to leave. Very quickly, the Raigo faction acted. The entire Nanjian village was sealed off. No one could escape. According to the order issued, they began to slaughter the villagers mercilessly. The order was, better to kill wrongly than to spare. Only the tragic cries of the innocent people could be heard. Suddenly, explosions erupted one after another, making them confused. It was Jax who had started to act. A figure appeared on the roof with a scythe. He looked at them coldly as if they were already dead. Jax shouted loudly, "The gate of Nanjian village has been surrounded. If you want to live, evacuate to the outer wall. I have created a hole there. This is also the only way I can help the villagers escape." After that, their soldiers quickly ran there. Fortunately, some people from the small sect arrived in time to rescue them. The deputy leader of the Raigo faction did not want to chase after the commoners, because then they would be seen as murderers. The noise of the previous explosions was also too loud. Many people had noticed this place. At the same time, Jax was dealing with their assassins. Countless people rushed up to gang up on him, but he stabbed them all. Even their leader was easily captured by him. He thought he was so strong. However, the Eagle faction had also completed their 9-platform 8-gate formation. This place was sealed off. Then they were the ones trapped here, not him. Jax relied on his strength of fighting and running, and quickly killed many people. The chaotic scene here was convenient for him. However, their number was very large. Moreover, whenever someone was killed, they immediately knew and ran to replace them. He also realized that the flute sound was how they could know that. The 8 gates of this formation were not fixed in one place. By constantly spreading their soldiers according to the enemy's movements, the 8 gates would naturally form. The complex gears of this formation allowed them to easily detect problems if a gear stopped working and gradually push the enemy to the place of their strongest force, GGE, which was the death gate. Jax was exhausted after a while of fighting. He also realized that he could not follow their arrangement. He would never be able to escape from this formation like that. Suddenly, countless arrows shot at him. Jax could only use the nearby corpse as a shield to block them. They forced him to step into the Black Gate and then the Death Gate. Many people were waiting here to gang up on Jax. But they did not see him anywhere. Jax had disappeared. He was at the Life Gate of the Great Formation. In other words, he hid in a blind spot that they thought was very profound and gave him a headache. But he could not hide here forever either. Remembering what his guard said before, he had to use the fish's swimming ring to escape from this formation. He could only spin around to survive longer. He used a sneak attack strategy, hitting and running. He attacked them at all the gates. This made their signals chaotic. This was the best opportunity for him to deal with them. But to do that, Jax had to set up traps beforehand. However, he only managed to kill less than 20 people, while the enemy had more than 100. They would constantly use magic to surround him. But Jax managed to reach the exit. However, Tin Long Quan was here. He came to avenge his lover John. He was one of the 4 strongest geniuses of Kong Ho, the 3 dragons and 1 phoenix. After his lover was killed, he tried to commit suicide but he couldn't do it. He had to avenge her, so he came here. Jax wanted to tell the truth, but he didn't let him speak. He attacked directly. His speed and strength were much higher than Jax's. But Jax also had to fight because staying here longer would be more dangerous. Because there was still the Igo clan over there. The two fought but the opponent was too strong. He could knock Jax away with one hand. Jax's weak appearance made him start to doubt. How could he defeat John if he was so weak? He used a provocation technique to lure him into a mistake. But this guy was not that stupid. He hit Jax with a super painful punch. Then one of his hands was tied by a chain. Jax used a hidden weapon but it didn't work. It was blocked by his sword. He took the opportunity to get close to Jax and shot out a poisonous finger. He thought Jax was done for. But he could avoid that move. Moreover, he was injured by his own internal energy. When Lipid, the general of Vo Men, learned that his disciple was an Anam, he was furious. He was not afraid that his disciple would be killed by Jax. But he was afraid of that woman. If she knew that his adopted son was there, she would definitely show up. Old Mangio appeared here somehow. He told the saintess of the Black Church. Lipid was surely on his way here. His target was still Jax. Meanwhile, Jax was still fighting with Tin Long Quan. Although his meridians were starting to get chaotic. But the pain made him keep up with his speed. The two rushed into each other, fighting fiercely. If their weapons were knocked away, they used their bare hands to fight. With a loud bang, the loser was Jax again. His hand was also twisted backwards, very painful. While he was still confident of winning, his hand was also poisoned by Jack's. It was from the western chrysanthemum fruit, which caused nerve disorder and nausea, weakening the respiratory system. I can't lose this battle. If I lose, I will die here. I must survive. He started to take out an antidote pill like John. At that time, in the most dangerous moment, the leader of the demon sect came to save him. He quickly realized the gap in strength between them. He was sold by her to a bowl of scallion porridge and fainted. Just then, a powerful force attacked. It was Jia Igo Myung. He had reached the realm of killing Ji. It seems that everything we did was not in vain. Because you finally appeared. The two fought a great battle. The leader of the demon sect used his tattered cloth to seal the old man but failed. They were quickly torn apart. The old man also mentioned the extermination of her clan that year, making the leader attack more and more. But he couldn't do anything. Old Man Mango had to appear on one side to help. He directly captured the general as a hostage to make Jia Igo withdraw his troops. Jax was poisoned by the old man at this time. But it didn't work. Because this old man had lost a leg long ago. It was just a fake one. The old man started to tell his misery, crying like a madman about the time he had to go through. He had stabbed a poison needle into the old man's waist since then. But he was kicked by the old man and fainted. He decided to take his troops away to cure his poison. But he also relied on the demon sect to save Jax. The leader of the demon sect finally had to release his true power. The Five Thunder meditation technique quickly dealt with Jia Igo before General Lippet arrived here. In the end, Jax was taken away by her. The battle ended here. After defeating Mario, he received news from his disciple that this place was about to be surrounded. The leader of the demon sect ordered his subordinates to take Jax back to the sect for treatment. While recovering from his injuries, Jax kept dreaming of Mario haunting him, poking him in the butt. He didn't spare him even in his dreams. This is too much. He was about to be crippled in his dream when Jax suddenly woke up. He was startled because there was a stranger next to him, intending to attack a little girl. Fortunately, he calmed down and nothing happened. The leader of the demon sect came forward to reassure him. This is the secret base of the demon sect. You don't have to worry. After calming down, he and she reviewed what happened in Nanjiao village. Jax was sad and blamed himself. Because if he had arrived earlier, the villagers would not have been in danger. Moreover, he still hadn't killed Mang Rio, which made him very angry. The leader encouraged him, "You did very well. There is no battle without bloodshed. Mang Rio is very despicable, but he is the reason why you became stronger and indirectly helped you survive until now. The important thing now is to recover quickly before leaving." The leader said, "Your reputation has spread far and wide. Yuna, where you live, has become the center and now people call you the Poison Dragon." At the same time, at the edge of the forest, Bagley Young was reading a letter in anger. Because the states would support the sword sect leader as he requested. Having no place to vent his anger, a group of disciples from the demon sect who did not know their own strength rushed out to attack him secretly. Bagley Young did not need to draw his sword, he used his energy to make them all explode. In pain, the gang of scoundrels ascended to heaven, without knowing the reason. After wandering for a few days, Mang Rio brought along Tin Long who was about to die to ask for help from the Tang family. As soon as he arrived, he was overwhelmed by the situation here. A place where no one dared to cause trouble for hundreds of years. Sitting and enjoying delicious food and drink, suddenly the city doctor had to treat Tin Long. While treating him, he also chatted. The two old men argued for an hour, making Tin Long wake up. Thinking that there would be a combat show, who knew that as soon as he raised his head, he was hit by Mang Rio and fell asleep again. It was really too bad. Mang Rio wanted to meet Tang Old Master. He had a lot of things to talk about. But knowing that only the young lady was in the city now, he left disappointedly. Back to Jack's, he was invited by the leader to join the secret sect but refused. Bored, the leader went back to his room to dress up and go out for the Mid-Autumn Festival, leaving him with a home to chat. Looking forward to talking with a beautiful sister, he found out that she could not speak. Jax was depressed and went out to get some air. As soon as he stepped out, Khan thought, maybe I pushed myself too hard in this battle. The fight was so intense that it was a miracle that I was still alive. I need time to recover, as Hong Sak Tai Nuang said. But Jax could not rest properly because he felt restless. In Lang Nanzi, Jax witnessed firsthand what the martial world was like. The martial world was not like what he knew when he was young. It was not a place where justice and fairness existed anymore. Now it was a place of filth and corruption. If one or two fish made the water dirty, Jax just needed to catch them out. But if the water itself was the problem, what should we do? Because in it there was Caesar or Gun, the martial world leader. He was the one who turned the world into this way. He did not know if he should take revenge on the martial world leader, the one responsible for this. His enemy was stronger than he thought. And there was still an enemy haunting him that Jax needed to pay attention to. Was his revenge really impossible? While thinking absent-mindedly, Piano Bach brought a deer in. The two had been on the same front in the Battle of Nanjiao Village. Seeing Jax bandaged all over his body, Piano Bach teased him with a few words that made him very angry. But he was seriously injured and could not do anything. The two chatted about the battle years ago when the Poison Sect attacked the Medicine Sect. After hearing the story, Jax's worldview changed dramatically. Because he always thought that the Poison Sect was the cause of the war. Curious, Jax asked Piano Bach about the source of the story and learned that about 15 years ago, the Medicine Sect launched a large-scale attack on the Poison Sect. Because the battle was too sudden, the Poison Sect could not fight back. If it weren't for the situation to change, the Poison Sect would have been the Medicine Sect of the present. The situation changed because the Tang family from Sichuan joined the battle. With the participation of the Tang family, there was a big difference in strength between the two sides. The balance tilted in favor of the Poison Sect. The Medicine Sect gradually collapsed and was either assassinated or had to depend on the Poison Sect. No one followed the Medicine Sect because they did not want to offend the Miran Alliance. The survivors of the Medicine Sect could not get anyone's help and were forced to a dead end. Later, no one knew what really happened. The reason for the Medicine Sect was that the Poison Sect produced a lot of forbidden poisons. The reason for the Poison Sect was that they were attacked by them first. The two sides had always disliked each other, so many people thought that what happened was really because of the pent-up resentment between them. After knowing the whole story, Jax felt regretful and blamed himself. He had been blindly avenging the Poison Sect before. And he learned that little sister Xiao Xiao was the daughter of the Medicine Sect leader. That night, he snubbed Miss Jiang and said he didn't need her to take care of him anymore. He was really a grown-up child. How could he treat her like that when she didn't do anything wrong? A week later, Jax recovered gradually. He was practicing his qi when the leader of the secret sect came to visit him. Jax complained that his revenge for so long was meaningless. He didn't know what to do now. Then the leader kindly advised, "I used to be like that too." Piano Bo ran to Jax and demanded compensation for making Xiao Xiao sad and not talking to anyone. He realized that he was stupid and ran away to find Xiao Xiao and apologize. He was really young. Fortunately, Xiao Xiao was understanding. Although he didn't come to apologize with his hands, she still forgave him. Although he had been reminded not to wander around at night here, Mang Rio still didn't listen. He kept walking around as if this was his home. After wandering for a while, he met Miss Tang from the Tang family and found out that they knew each other before. She was angry because he had caused trouble that affected her family. But he was a playboy and everything was still under control. He advised her to go to bed early. Girls who stay up late won't be pretty. Hearing that staying up late would make her ugly, she ignored the new enemy of Poison Dragon and her family and turned away. Ha Jong-mis reminded him, "Finish everything before my father comes back and then go to sleep." As soon as he received a letter from Manhwa, the leader of the secret sect felt uneasy. Jax came from afar and wanted to travel around the world to become smarter. The leader hoped Jax would join them, but seeing his determination was too great, he gave up. He wished him to find his purpose in life and not die too soon because there were many experts in the martial world. The next day, everyone from the secret sect came to say goodbye to him and wished him success soon. Xiao Xiao also gave him a bag of regeneration circulation pills to help him enhance his vitality. After parting, the leader told Piano Bo that he would go up the mountain to find Manhwa, even though there were many dangers there. On this side, after spreading countless traps all over the forest, Manhwa leisurely sat and roasted potatoes, watching the moon when suddenly Bagley Young appeared behind him. With an excessive move, Bagley Young made Manhwa fly hundreds of meters away. Knowing that he couldn't beat him, Manhwa tried to talk his way out but got hit again. Although Manhwa used all his strength to fight back, Bagley Young treated it like a child's play and blocked his moves without drawing his sword. Seeing that Manhwa was too weak, he was about to finish him off and then go find a seat to play, but the old man took out a piece of paper with his wife's signature. Suddenly, old memories flooded back, and Bagley Young spared him life. Back to Jax, he was walking in the forest when he felt someone following him. He remembered the master's words that there were 3 major forces in Sichuan, Amei, Qingcheng, and Tang clan. They would follow anyone suspicious until they left. He knew they were just following and not doing anything, but it was annoying to have someone tailing him while he was having fun. So Jax tried to shake them off. He thought it was a tough tale, but it turned out to be a little kid with a runny nose. Master Jax had cured his poison on the way, and he wanted to go back and report to the master of Qingcheng sect, but he thought that he had just gone out for fun, not for learning. If he went back, he would have to bury his head in books and get beaten by the master, so he gave up. He decided to follow Jax instead. He followed the footsteps for a while, but then he lost Jax and was very angry but could not do anything. In the evening, after escaping from the forest, Jax went to a pho shop, intending to have a light fried rice to warm his stomach. The rice came to him but he did not eat it. He was thinking about random things when suddenly the kid who followed him opened the door and walked in. He had searched everywhere before finding him here. He was so tired and hungry that he asked Jax for his rice and ate it to warm his stomach. Seeing that it was just a child following him, and he had no ill intentions, Jax told him to make himself comfortable. While eating, he complained that his master made him work but did not give him any money for food or travel expenses. He was very sulky. As soon as he ate a bite, Jax said that there was poison in the food, making the kid open his mouth wide. Annoyed, he blamed Jax for giving him poisoned food, then Jax pointed out 2 people in the distance who were the ones who poisoned it. Knowing that there was poison in the food and still giving it to someone else, that was really rude. It turned out that the poisoners were from the Tang clan. The kid angrily asked them why they dared to poison the food here. In this land, whoever attacked anyone from the 3 sects of Qingcheng, Amei, and Tang clan first would face the fate of exterminating 3 clans. Jax saw that it was too noisy, so he left quietly. Then Riceumpy took a chopstick and tried to assassinate him. He thought that Eunjeong was just a little kid with no skills, but with just 2 chopsticks he blocked his move. Furious at being underestimated, Eunjeong launched an attack and almost took Risen's life, but luckily for him, Miss Tanghan was sitting next to him and smashed the chopstick before it hit his face. Eunjeong was about to counterattack when he saw Jax leaving. He was really ungrateful. He had just fought someone else and his mouth kept asking for an antidote. He was such a childish kid. But the two people from the Tang clan did not want any more trouble, so they gave him an antidote. Feeling tired of following Jax, he asked him to go with him as a friend so that he would have someone to talk to for fun. Seeing that the kid had no bad intentions, Jax happily agreed. He wondered why his killing intent was so strong, but he did not give those two guys a beating in the rice shop. Jax stuck out his tongue. "That's youth for you. I don't even have money for beer, let alone fighting in someone else's shop and breaking everything. Where would I get the money to pay?" Jung widened his eyes. "You are indeed a man of experience. Following you is like having home-cooked meals." He was surprised, but the master said, "You are cruel and I have to watch you not to cause trouble." It's true that seeing is believing. Then Jung bragged to Jax, "I heard that no one in Sichuan dares to touch the people of Tantan section." He felt very pitiful. He was drowning in hatred, fearing that someone would harm him, while the kid Jung was carefree because he had a big umbrella to protect him. The two Tang sect disciples saw that there was someone from the Tantan sect following and did not dare to act. They argued and each went their own way. In the south of Guangxi, Lam, Lao Sun, the leader of the demon sect, transformed and came to meet old Mario. The deal between the two was to exchange Poisonous Dragon for Tin Long, but she had let Poisonous Dragon go, so she had to rob it. Mario thought to himself, Hong Sak Tai Noang is not someone who follows the path of the demon sects, even though she is among them. She knew that the bastard Jax would be in danger if he gave him to me, so she didn't do that. I was right to let Hong Sak Tai Noang take him away to give him a chance to live. The leader of the demon sect thought she was a chicken when she let Jax go, but she turned out to be rice, because this was part of Mario's plan. As he was about to touch Tin Long, he suddenly woke up and hit her sneakily. Not only that, old Mario also took advantage of the situation and kicked her. With his extraordinary skills, the leader continuously launched moves, attacked, dodged hidden weapons and made the sky and earth blurry. He was indeed an old cunning man. Not only did he call more people to surround her, but he also used hidden weapons to suppress Hong Sak Tai Noang. Although the enemy seemed more numerous, with his extraordinary skills, one beard and two beards successfully prevented them from approaching the leader. As they were enjoying a martial arts exchange, old Mario used hidden weapons on the leader and made her exhausted. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Tin Long attacked and took one of her arms. Ignoring old Mario's words that if she used her power she could die from the poison of the Tang sect, she was using all her strength to fight with old Mario when two beards rushed in and rescued her. Two beards hugged the leader and jumped into the river to escape. Leaving one beard behind alone to resist, he could not hold on for more than 30 seconds, one beard was easily subdued. Frustrated that he had not caught the leader, Mang Rio ordered his subordinates to go downstream and find her. Although he did not want to, because of some business deals of his boss that were making money, he had to obediently agree. Sichuan, somewhere in a forest. Jax and his tail Jung wandered around here and there. As they walked, he asked, "Why is your leg broken? Why do they say you are cruel but I haven't seen you kill anyone? Why are you so patient?" Jax answered one by one, "Of course I did, I hit them a few times." He wondered, "Why does everyone think you are from the demon sect but I don't see you doing bad things?" Jax muttered a sentence that was exactly what the leader of the demon sect had said to him before. Jung had told him that the place he had just left would soon be wiped out. Here, under the lower reaches of Lam, Lao Sun, the leader of the demon sect and two beards had survived by luck. They mourned for one beard and an arm that they had lost. They swore to take revenge on the old man one day, and then they found out that the three great forces wanted to destroy the demon sect because they had something to do with him. Jax was angry because that place had sheltered him when he was in trouble. Jax wanted to go back to the demon sect to save people, but he was stopped by the kid Jung who used a wind bell to restrain him because it was too dangerous. In a desperate moment, a black snake rushed out. He quickly bit its head to regain his original energy. It turned out that it was a gift from the two Tang brothers to verify whether his name Toxic Dragon was real or not. Jung was annoyed that the people of the Tang family interfered with his business. At this time, Miss Tang Hien took off her hat and ordered him to let Jax go wherever he wanted. Seeing that she was beautiful and from a noble family, he also tried to stand aside and let Jax do what he wanted. When Jax had gone a considerable distance, Jung flew after him. With his extraordinary skills, it didn't take long for him to catch up with him. Seeing Jax exhausted, with this condition he would die before reaching the demon sect, even though he didn't know if what he was about to do was right or wrong, but he didn't hesitate to tell him to get on his back so he could carry him faster. With all his strength, the leader of the demon sect and Mr. Two Beards finally dragged their bodies to the house. They were taken inside for treatment. All the disciples of the demon sect also wanted to avenge their leader, but they were rudely driven away. She didn't want to implicate everyone, so she wanted them to run away as far as possible and leave her alone here to solve the problem. But all the brothers in the sect, who had been sheltered by her in the most difficult times, stayed with one heart and did not regret even if they died. Moved by everyone's feelings, the leader blamed herself for not being strong enough to protect everyone. The Alliance of Murim, Jiangxi Province, Main Base. Young brought back the arm of the leader of the demon sect and handed it over to the master. Although he was a little disappointed that it was only an arm and not a whole person, Bakley Young reported that there would be a fun war in Jiangdong soon due to Mario's plot between Nami sect and Demon sect, so what we need to do is just wait and watch the show. Seeing Mario had shrunk back and done so many interesting things, the master ordered Bakley Young to keep his life for him, and see his face someday. At the headquarters of the Demon sect, the disciples were working hard to prepare for the life and death battle ahead. Vian Box sent a letter asking for help, hoping that reinforcements would arrive before everything was over. Finally, the enemy arrived. They seemed numerous but no one was in charge. Vian mocked them a few words and then one guy claimed to be the leader of Nam Shuyan gang, Jian Wang. The guys fought like gangsters. They refused to let their leader lose an arm and go into battle. Whoever kicked halfway would get Jian Wang's life. Suddenly Mazabul Mio Gold from Nami sect appeared and blocked her move easily. She came here as a supervisor of the three great forces. Seeing her fight so fiercely, she feared that she would kill all these scoundrels in one move and there would be no more fun. So she intervened to restrain the monster in her a little bit. Then the disciples of both sides rushed into a fierce battle, claiming to be righteous sections. But they were brutal, killing everyone from women and children, even those who were wounded were not spared. Seeing death and misery everywhere, she decided to use her final move, kill all enemies at once. But besides her data, the toxicity of the Tang sect was still in her body, making her unable to use her skills. The situation was extremely dangerous. She was about to be killed by Miss Mazaboy Mio Gold. Then Jax appeared coldly, his eyes full of resentment. He used dark energy to shoot at a few thugs. Ms. Mazabul Mio Gold had to stop her hand, detoxify, and save the sect leader's life. He didn't say much, and introduced himself briefly, "I am Poisonous Dragon." With a simple move, he sent John Wong to his death. Everyone recognized him and was terrified. They thought he would finish the fight in a few minutes. But he met a big rock named Mazabul Mio Gold. Seeing Poisonous Dragon appear, she was in the mood of being an observer and directly intervened in the combat, attacking him. He didn't give in, and the sect leader of the demon sect was very angry, but also helpless, because he had been injured too heavily and couldn't use his skills. Mazabul Mio Gold and Jax fought for 300 rounds. But even though he tried his best, he couldn't do anything to her. She entangled him like a leech. When she was about to deliver the final blow, Jiang came and stopped her. Seeing that Masabuan Mio Gold was known as a supervisor, with the duty of minimizing damage, but instead encouraged violence, and even provoked attacks on women and children. Eunjeong got angry and joined forces with Jax to defeat her. But it didn't work. Jax was slashed and lost his fighting ability. Seeing that, Eunjeong used a magic treasure to suppress her. This move was very effective, but only with those who could hear it. Mazabul Mio Gold was furious and held her head, unable to resist. He thought he could suppress her, but no, she was fine just a moment ago, but when she saw that she was suppressed by the magic sound, she turned herself deaf. She slashed him and made him spit blood. The magic sound shattered and flew away. Masabul laughed wickedly and rushed over, attacking him continuously. He deserved it for interrupting her. Seeing that everything was out of control, Jax was exhausted and decided to give up. Then the sect leader said, "The story is still short, it's not over yet." Then he said to him, "It's too early to give up, young warrior. There's still a way to turn the situation around. First, use Huang Xian Dan, then I will teach you a technique. This is the best thing I can do for you at this moment. The name of this technique is 5 Thunder Meditation Technique." Mazabul Mio Gold saw them talking too much, stepped over and killed them quickly. Jax bit the candy and got high in the meantime. Jax dreamed of ghosts, and among them there was one named Inova who taught him a new technique called Jade Bronze 9 Lights, 5 Thunder Meditation Technique. With this new technique, Jax used a needle to make Ms. Masabuan Mio Gold blind in one eye even though she used her sword to block it. Seeing that this business failed, she was both deaf and blind. She flew away and promised to come back another day with her gang. After the leader ran away with his tail between his legs, the thugs also quickly surrendered to the disciples of the demon sect who were about to kill them. Then the sect leader stepped forward and spared their lives. They were happy to escape death, but they didn't know that they were just waiting for tomorrow's trial, for whoever killed someone from the demon sect would have to pay with their life. The sect leader slowly walked over and Jax thanked him for coming here to help the demon section. Jax was sad because too many people had died. The sect leader gently replied that it was part of history, young man. If he hadn't come, maybe no one would have survived. Although it was very painful, we had to live well so that one day we could get justice back. Seeing that this place was no longer safe, the sect leader ordered everyone to evacuate and find a new place to stay. Jax asked to go with him because he knew this was his family and what he needed to protect. The next morning Rio came with his thugs to the headquarters of the demon sect, but no one from the demon sect was there anymore. The prisoners who were captured last night told them that Jax had come and defeated Nico Masabu and Mio Gold. Seeing how things changed, they realized that Jax had helped the demon sect turn defeat into victory and beat Mazabul Mio Gold. Mang Rio couldn't stop smiling, because he had created a monster. He was happy with his achievement. Then, the people of the Tang family came and invited him to have a beer. Mang Rio left his subordinates behind and flew away like a wind. On the box saw the kid Eunjeong following him boredly, with nothing to do. He teased him that yesterday he had beaten the nun of the Nami sect and would be expelled. The kid was scared and sat quietly. The leader of the demon sect felt unwell and was about to pass on her meditation technique to Jax. Then she was annoyed by Eunjeong's questions. She went to sleep, hoping to get better. On the mountain, there was a group of people from the Nami sect who were watching the caravan of the secret section. They were planning to attack and kill them. But they were stopped by Book Chun, the head of the Tantan sect, because he had a precious disciple on the caravan. The nuns wanted to capture Eunjeong and make him pay for what he had done to Masabu and Mio Gold yesterday. Seeing that, Book Chun used his inner energy to warn them gently. The monks and nuns felt his powerful inner energy and gave up their plan. They swore that they would make him pay later. The 3 of them hid themselves and disappeared. As soon as the 3 nuns left, Miss Tanghan of the Tang family appeared. She announced that they were very interested in Jax, a man who always confronted enemies much stronger than him. Van Nam Poison Sect, Dung Phuong Sect, Jia Igo Star Dragon, and now even Masa Bull. He was very daring. If he fought with them, he would most likely die. That's what everyone would say, but he always stood firm. He never backed down. He had put himself on the path of fighting to the end with his enemies and winning the final victory. Both his bloodline and his martial arts were not good. The reason he could reach his current position was entirely due to his strong will. Seeing that Jax was interesting, Book Chun liked him too. He paid attention and was curious about his appearance. In another development, Mang Rio was standing in front of the headquarters of the Tang family, wondering which way to enter. Then a beautiful girl came out and opened the door for him to go in. Mang Rio was also amazed by this place and by La Sat Tang Trung, the leader of the Tang family. He was a man who had retired from the world, who was not the leader of the Tang family anymore, but he was the one who decided everything for the Tang family when facing La Sat Tang Trung. Old Mario also had to freeze because of his brutality, ordering people to kill like rabbits. Then he saw that it was a new poison that he had not perfected yet. He intended to give it to Mario to use. Mang Rio said no matter what, when he finished researching it, he would take it or not. Because he had brought Jax back to the martial world, La Sat Tang rewarded Mang Rio with a bottle of Hum Man medicine. Using it, he could have 20 years of inner energy. He happily accepted the gift and secretly thought that he had another gift for his monster brother Jax. Then he thought that he would receive the gift and leave. But no, Old Thought also proposed to La Sat Tang to let Miss Tang Hien marry a poisonous dragon. This move surprised him too. He didn't expect that even though the poisonous dragon had been crippled and blinded by him and joined the Disabled Association, old Mang Rio had tried to save him 5 or 7 times and buffed his strength. And now he even arranged a wedding for him with Hien. He was truly an interesting villain, never seen before. Hearing Old Thought say that, La Sat Tang laughed because nothing had been so interesting in the past 10 years. But La Sat Tang thought that poisonous dragon came from an evil sect. If he married into the Tang family, then the Tang family would be opposed by the whole martial world. Mario smiled lightly and said that it was a trivial matter. He just needed to change his identity. He said that he was from the Bao family of the Sorrow sect. But first, he had to make Hargun, the virtuous man, and Bok Lai Young disagree with each other. Seeing that the plan was perfect, La Sat gave Mario a jade pendant. With it, the old man would get more protection from RA. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, Mario pretended to slam the jade on the table and see how the old iron reacted. He was also a bit suffocated, because no one had ever dared to do that to him. Then he remembered that soon, either the virtuous man or gold would summon Mario. He reminded the old man to let him know the important information before Mario left. He went back to Jax and the remnants of the demon sect. They were all exhausted. They stopped at an inn to rest for a while. Everyone was sound asleep at 11 p.m. Jax went to the master's room and asked about his health. The master said, "I'm very tired. I can't play adult games." Then he wanted him to learn 2 techniques, the Jade Cave 9 Lights and the 5 Thunder Meditation. They would surely be very useful. For him, the master wanted him to learn these 2 techniques to catch Bok Lai Young and make him pay for what he had done. He agreed to learn martial arts to catch Bok Lai Young and remind Chow Chow. Chow Chow appeared. Bok Lai Young tried to be a shipper, but people ordered a whole person and he only sent an arm, so he was returned. He was angry, then Tin Long jumped in. He asked for money, played with girls, went to bars, then he was kicked out mercilessly by him. The next morning, after having a full breakfast. Last night he read The Art of War by Sun Tzu and learned that the most dangerous place is the safest place. He wanted everyone to pack up and go back to their sections. Everyone objected because it was too dangerous and there was no guarantee. Moreover, they had to go through Ton Ton Mountain, which was really too dangerous. The master reassured them. Jax asked Ul Jung to pretend to be a hostage and help him this time. Ul Jung was stunned and said why did he do that? Everyone agreed that it was reasonable and packed up their things and returned to their homeland. The way back was full of dangers and hardships. After 2 days they finally reached Taishuyan Mountain. They received news that someone had entered the territory of Daoist Chun's section. He immediately flew over to ask questions. Book Chun scolded Un Jae-young for causing too much trouble for Tan sect, and now he even pretended to be a hostage to let the demon sect pass through Tan Mountain. He didn't bother to accept him as a disciple anymore. Un Jiang was sad but didn't know what to do. He looked cold but saw that the demon sect was in a dilemma. Book Chu drew a straight line and let the people of the demon sect live in an abandoned martial arts hall where he used to practice. However, he still felt that it was too dangerous. Jax stood up and asked for more protection. Book Chu agreed with him on one condition: he had to not retreat in 3 moves. If he could do it, he would guarantee the safety of the demon sect. After taking 3 moves, Book Chu admitted that Jax had great potential to do great things in the future. He turned his head and left Jax with many injuries. The master and everyone surrounded him, thanked him and encouraged him to recover soon. At Tang's headquarters, with the big car that Mario had just got, he asked Miss Tang Hyan not to pretend to be a man anymore, but to become a woman again and prepare to get married. For so many years he didn't know what bananas were like. Hyan also nodded in agreement. Mario sent a sick man over for her to try bananas. Seeing that the groom was ugly and old, Hyan angrily hit him with a whip and killed him. Not only that, he also gave her an antidote and asked her to go to Tan Mountain and find a way to approach Anova and seduce Poisonous Dragon and bring him back here. She felt a burning sensation in her bladder because no one had ever ordered her like that before. She was about to attack Mario, but he held up Nox's seal and she didn't dare to do anything. Hyan reluctantly agreed because she couldn't resist Nox's order. Back at Tan Mountain, Jax and Ul Jung were busy practicing. They only stopped to chat for a while when Susu brought them some cold water. Ul Jung had to stay here and mooch off them, because his master wouldn't let him go back. It was pitiful, but oh well. On a quiet night, Jax was sitting and cultivating, when Yoga couldn't sleep. She went to Jax's room to chat for a bit. He approached her and discovered that the poison she had been exposed to had seeped into her bones and marrow. If he used the usual method of forcing out the poison, she would die instantly. Now he could only find someone from the Tang family and ask for an antidote, or else there would be sequelae. The next morning, Tang Hyan came to see Jax in anger. Because of Mario's order, she had to marry a poisonous dragon as her husband. She wanted to compete with him, to see if he was worthy of being her husband. At the same time, Book Chun also passed by and agreed to be the referee. The two fought, throwing poison darts and making rocks fly everywhere. In the chaos, even though he was the main character, it didn't make Jax any stronger. He got beaten up by Hajan. Seeing that he was losing, he would have to wash dishes and cook for the rest of his life. Jax refused to accept his fate, and his thunderous power surrounded him. The two fought for another 500 rounds. Although Jax was seriously injured, he still refused to surrender. Hyan attacked him while blaming herself for being too weak and soft all her life. She couldn't do what she wanted, she didn't get her father's attention, she admired him for being able to do what he wanted freely. She could have used a decisive move to defeat Jax, but Hyan withdrew her move and accepted defeat. Girls are really hard to understand. Why would she win and then turn around and ask for a loss? It was unbelievable. The brothers of the demon sect were happy that Jax had won. Hyan knelt down and begged him to come back as her husband. She vowed to wash dishes, sweep the floor for him for the rest of her life. Moreover, if he went out drinking with his friends, she would never stop him. Seeing the attractive offer, but he had a lot of things to do, so he only accepted to be friends and took her antidote. As soon as he took out the bottle of medicine, Gang tasted a bit and knew it was poison. This also surprised Hyen. She cursed Mario for giving her a bottle of poison that he had randomly taken from the shelf and given to her as a subordinate. Next to him, he opened his mouth wide and ordered his subordinates to find him 8 kinds of poisonous drugs from the Tang family, the kind that would kill instantly. Even martial arts experts couldn't cure them. His subordinates didn't want to do it. When they followed him, Mario pulled out Nock's seal from his pocket. They were scared and ran away, obeying him without arguing. On Tantan Mountain, on a clear night with a cool breeze, Book Chun walked around looking for the sect leader. He discussed the issue that the actions of Nami sect and Tang sect would cause chaos in the world, and needed to find a suitable solution to prevent this. He thought Book Chun was the strongest person in the Tantan sect before, but apparently not. Although younger than him, Mu Am was the sect leader of the Tantan section. He didn't know if he was on the list of disabled people or not, but My Aim's aura showed that he was a very strong monster. Few people could match him. That same night, at the foot of the mountain, Hyen felt ashamed because she had been tricked by Mario into giving Ioua Jax the wrong antidote. He comforted her and told her that Mario was also his enemy from 9 years ago. The old man had killed his whole family. He had poisoned him, but his life hadn't ended yet, so he was still alive until now. He promised to help her get rid of him in the future. Ashamed of what she had done, and moreover, if she returned now, she would be tortured and executed. Living was worse than dying. She wanted to free herself and have a peaceful life. Jax was by her side, trying to encourage her and stop her from committing suicide. She told him that the Tang sect was plotting to poison innocent people on a large scale. Knowing the evil scheme of the Tang sect, Jax immediately went to see the leader of Yua, to find a way to deal with the two of them. After talking for a while, he also understood what the Tang sect's plot was. But he also had no solution. So he went home and slept, for his health. In the Tang sect's prison, Moon Pyong, the 35th disciple of the Sun Hoa sect, was being held captive by La Sat Tang, who demanded his subordinates to untie him and set a condition: as long as he could defeat him, he could do whatever he wanted. Moon Pyong used the 5 elements kick and the ancient dragon hold to attack La Sat Tang, but they were useless. Within 3 moves, La Sat Tang had made Moon Pyong lie on the floor. It turned out that he was just a test subject for his poison. Seeing that the new poison worked quickly, La Sat Tang laughed triumphantly. The task of controlling the Death Sun illusion technique of those people was not far away. By the river under Tantan Mountain, Jax was bathing in the river when he caught Hyen peeking at him. It turned out that she came here to thank him for clearing her mind last night. Hyen came to say goodbye to him and returned to the Tang sect to face everything. Seeing that she came back empty-handed, she probably wouldn't survive. Jax agreed to be her husband to get more information about the Tang section. She asked him how he would pretend to be married when they consummated their marriage. Jax was excited. "I haven't done it either, but just turn off the lights and you'll know everything." Hyen shyly agreed. Leading him back to the palace on Nami Mountain, Masabule was angry because Jax had made him join the disabled club and wanted to go down the mountain to find him to ease his anger. He had just put on his sandals and was about to leave when Mang Ryo appeared, along with the head of the section. Mang Ryo sympathized with Masabule Mio Gold, because he also had his eyes blinded and his legs broken by Jax. He showed him the jade pendant of the Tang sect, wanting Nami to join forces to eliminate Tantan sect, because Jax was hiding there. Seeing that it was a good idea, the leader happily agreed. The next morning, Jax and Hyen packed up their things and said goodbye to Ma Jiao and left. To everyone's surprise, even the leader didn't want him to go. But seeing that he really wanted to get married, he wished them well and bid them farewell. After walking for a while, Hyen told Jax to use the image step to go faster. He received a bitter answer that he didn't know how to do it and asked if Hyen wanted him to carry her instead. He'd rather walk than that. It was dark when they arrived in town and found an inn. Unfortunately, there was only one room left. Hyen blushed and felt embarrassed because this was her first time staying with a strange man. He let her sleep on the bed while he slept on the floor. They both tossed and turned and couldn't sleep. Then they turned around and talked to each other. Jax told her about what happened to him in the past that made him sink into hatred and resentment, looking for ways to take revenge day and night. Feeling sorry for his story, Hyen understood him better and hoped that one day she would make her future husband find happiness again, even if only a little bit. After Mang Ryo healed Masabule Mio Gold's wounds,